This story isn't about loud, flashy coins. It's about the silent dime coins, the ones that look ordinary in your pocket, but ignite bidding wars worth hundreds of thousands of rupees at auctions. There are dimes out. They're whose highest auction. Prices have reached thousands of US dollars. And the shocking part is this: most people ignore them. Assuming their range. In today's video, we're stepping into the world of two special proof dimes. Coins whose true power lies in their silence, their finish, and their rare, hidden details. And as this story unfolds, you'll begin to realize how something as small as a dime can quietly transform into a major treasure. You're watching USA Old Coins, the channel where ordinary-looking coins finally get the chance to tell their real stories. If you own a coin that looks normal at first glance, but something about it makes you curious, drop a comment below. Your coin might be the focus of our next research video. Hit the like button so this story reaches more collectors. Subscribe to USA Old Coins to explore the hidden world of rare American coins. And don't forget to share, because the next silent fortune might already be in your hands. Now let's talk about the 1978 proof dime. A coin that looks small and ordinary at first glance, but quietly holds serious value in the collector market. This dime was never made for everyday circulation. It was produced exclusively for collector-proof sets, which is why its finish immediately stands apart from a regular dime. The surface has a true mirror-like shine, smooth and reflective, with no dullness. While the edges are unusually clean and sharp, the design is crisp and well-defined, allowing you to clearly see the fine details in Roosevelt's face, including the hair lines and expression, as well as the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. However, the real value of the 1978 proof dime goes beyond its shine, because the key factor is the cameo, and especially the deep cameo effect. When the raised design appears frosted or matte and the background remains deeply mirrored, that contrast alone can push the coin into a much higher value category. In today's market, a 1978 proof dime in standard proof condition may be valued around $150 to $400. But when the same coin appears with a strong cameo or deep cameo effect and earns a high grade such as PR69 or PR70, its value can jump into the thousands of dollars. This is exactly why high-grade examples attract strong attention at auctions and often sell for more than expected. If you believe you own a 1978 proof dime, the first thing to check is the surface reflectivity, since proof coins show a much clearer mirror finish than circulation strikes. Next, examine the contrast under proper lighting to see if the design stands out with a frosted appearance against a glossy background. And inspect the edges carefully, as proof coins have sharper, cleaner rims. Also check the overall condition for hairlines or small scratches, because even minor marks can significantly affect the grade and value. For a true and reliable valuation, the best step is to have the coin professionally graded by a trusted service such as PCGS or NGC, as grading confirms authenticity, condition, and market credibility. When it comes time to sell a graded 1978 proof, dime will almost always bring a higher price than a raw coin, especially if it has a deep cameo designation. Selling through international platforms or reputable auction houses gives you access to serious collectors who are willing to pay strong prices for quality and rarity. That is why experienced collectors do not treat the 1978 proof dime as spare change, but rather as a smart long-term investment. Since clean, graded, deep cameo proof dimes continue to become harder to find while demand keeps slowly rising. Now we step into the story of a dime that may be extremely small in size, but quietly pulls in big money in the collector market. This is the 1974 proof dime. It comes from a time when the United States was facing intense economic pressure, rising inflation, and major global changes. Life was not easy for the average citizen. Yet even during these difficult years, the U.S. Mint refused to compromise on quality when it came to producing proof coins. These were not coins made for daily spending. They were created for people who viewed coins not just as currency, but as history, craftsmanship, and art. The 1970 for proof dime was never meant to end up in someone's pocket. It was produced in limited numbers and released only as part of special collector proof sets. That limited production is exactly what gives this coin its distinct identity today. Over time, many of these sets were broken apart, improperly stored, or lost due to lack of awareness, which slowly increased the scarcity of surviving high-quality examples. At first glance, this dime feels completely different from a regular circulation strike. Its surface carries a deep, mirror-like finish so smooth and clean that light reflects clearly across it. The edges are unusually sharp and well-defined, almost as if they were carved by hand rather than struck by a machine. The design is incredibly crisp, allowing you to clearly see the finest details of Roosevelt's face, from the expression in his eyes to the delicate lines of his hair. On the reverse, every flame of the torch and every line in the olive and oak branches stands out with remarkable clarity. This level of refinement simply does not exist in normal circulation dimes. But this is where the real suspense begins. The true power of the 1970 for proof dime goes beyond its beauty. When the coin displays a strong cameo or evening effect, it moves into an entirely different value category. In these examples, the raised design appears softly frosted, while the background remains deeply mirrored like glass. The stronger and more dramatic this contrast is, the rarer the coin becomes and the higher its market value climbs. In today's collector market, a standard 1970 for proof dime may sell for a few hundred US. However, once that same coin achieves a high grade such as PR69 or PR70, especially with a deep cameo designation, its value can rise into the thousands of dollars. This is the moment when auction rooms fall silent, bidding slows and intensifies, and a tiny coin suddenly becomes the center of attention. On multiple occasions, top quality 1970 for proof dimes have sold for far more than expected at auction, proving once again that size has nothing to do with value. True worth lies in condition, rarity, and preservation. If you believe you own a 1974 dime, the first thing to examine is the surface. A proof coin will always show a much clearer mirror-like finish compared to a regular dime. Next, inspect the edges, the depth of the design, and rotate the coin under proper lighting to check the contrast. Look closely to see whether the raised details appear frosted while the background remains glossy. These are the signs that separate an ordinary coin from a valuable proof dime. Still, visual inspection alone is not enough. The true market value of a 1974 proof dime can only be confirmed through professional grading by a trusted grading service. Without grading, its value remains uncertain. That is why serious collectors do not treat this coin as spare change, but instead preserve it as a quiet, long-term investment. As time goes on, clean, graded, deep cameo proof dimes continue to disappear from the market. And it is this growing scarcity happening quietly in the background that could turn this small dime into a major treasure in the future.